The fruit ferments easier than grains because the sugar is, I guess, more available. So all you do is just throw everything in and wait. And then the yeast, once it gets active, you can see it all over the um, the liquid. And then once it finishes eating all the sugar, it will all drop to the bottom. Everything, the debris and everything will settle at the bottom and the wine clears. And that's when it's ready to harvest. But that can take like 2 weeks from start to finish. Whereas
in
this,
wine.
you have to do, yeah, there's no cooking. There's no any of that. You just throw it all in and then that's it.
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Now, how long have you been making wine?
About 3 years, I think now.
Okay. And do you find, just compared to what I just explained, do you find that process similar in terms of ease? Is it more complicated, or I don't
No,
know?
less, way less, because you don't have to do all those extra things. Because like with the wort, or no, it was the liquor. You have to
Water, yeah.
it has to extract all of that stuff out. And you said also it's when they mix the sugars and the enzymes, they mix, and that's what makes the difference. With fruit, that doesn't happen. It just automatically gets to it. And some fruit, like grapes, one of the reasons that wine is made from grapes so much is because the bacteria that lives on grapes is very active, and it really converts well to alcohol. And you can even have a spontaneous fermentation. I do generally two different brews. One, I use a bread or brewer's yeast, which is the pre-made dry yeast. But for the second one, I capture my own yeast, which would be like a Brett,
Hmm.
using apples and raisins in water. And then I use that as the yeast. And that takes like 2 months to finish because the wild yeast is not as active.
Right. So how do you gather it? How do you gather the wild yeast, the apples and the raisins?
Well, you basically, and this is actually good to know because you can do this and you don't have to use it only for alcohol. You can use it to make bread, and you can also just drink it because it's a probiotic. Basically, you take your apple and your grapes or raisins, because dried grapes. You can use other fruit too. Just cut them up, stick them in a bottle with water, and then I stick like a tablespoon of sugar in there, and then cover it and close it. And then every day just shake it up, and it takes about a week, and then you notice it starts to bubble, and you have to open the top to let the excess carbon dioxide out. And in about 7 days you have your active yeast, and you can use it for anything.
Very neat. I think the whole science behind brewing in general, not just beer, but like making bread and all that stuff, like I never really understood it until I started learning about the home brewing process, and something that I should say that's related is that everything that we just went over and talked about is the same, whether you're a home brewer, with a bucket, um, or you're a medium-sized brewery or a big brewery. The only difference really is the equipment. The more money there is, the more fancy the equipment gets. But it really is all the exact same process.